Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations and let's transform your financial life together. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Money and You Show. Great guest today. I'm very excited to have on someone who shares my philosophy of having a limit-free life and also understands that all of this is very individual. So, instead of a sort of cookie cutter financial plan, he believes in really helping people to find their own way that will work for them and is unique as you are. So I want to just start with a quick bio. And I'm going to tell you a little about Mike Milligan, who's coming on the show today. He is founder of One Oak Financial, a virtual financial planning firm that prioritizes each client's individuality. He built the firm to combat the paralysis penalty, a pattern of one-size-fits-all financial advice that leaves people unprepared for Wall Street, insurance, and markets. Mike brings 30 years of experience, a specialized industry degree, and insights from big banks and insurance firms to deliver personalized strategies that protect and grow wealth. A certified financial planner, adjunct professor at Old Dominion University, podcast host, and author of 2 books, he's earned national recognition on CNBC, Fox, ABC, and NBC, along with awards in finance and sports coaching. Mike continues to expand One Oak Financial toward B Corp certification and Inc. 5000 recognition while living in San Juan, Puerto Rico with his family. Mike, welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here. It sounds like that's about the end of the podcast. Thanks for reading all my accomplishments. So,
well, that's just Michelle, the beginning. That's just so everybody knows how.
So grateful to be here with you.
I'm very grateful to have you here. I love your attitude and your approach to all of this, and I really feel like I love having guests on who can show the audience that it can. The financial plans you make can actually fit into what you want and your lifestyle, whatever situation you happen to be in. Because I think so many people run away from the whole thinking, I don't fit the mold. I'm not that person who can talk to a financial planner. I don't have it all together. And so I would love for you to just speak to that a little bit. You talked about the paralysis penalty. I'd love for you to expand on that as well.
Well, that's where many people find themselves, is they feel themselves unprepared, uneducated, because the big banks, investment companies, the marketing machine that's out there now in the financial world has meant to say you can only do this if you're with me. And the truth is there's so much free education. There's so many courses that are available to people out there. There's so many financial coaches that exist to help you that you could begin a conversation now with better equipped if you spend some time actually working on who you are and your relationship with money first. And so the paralysis penalty is something that I coined and I talk about from stages and, with others it's when you hear something that's a good idea and it's a good idea, but you get paralyzed by implementing it because you don't know how to implement it. See, that's what happens so often in the Facebook, TikTok, Instagram society we live in now. You'll see a reel for somebody that's 42 seconds and be like, that sounds good. And then you go down a rabbit hole trying to figure it out by yourself. Or you actually get on the phone with somebody and they'll give you a plan that in their mind is a perfect financial plan, but they don't do a good enough job explaining it in terms that you understand. And so the paralysis penalty is real. It's because when you don't act, you miss opportunity. And missed opportunity is the penalty for not actually creating something that is uniquely yours. See, when you talk about we share some things in common, we both believe that people are unique. I believe they're one of a kind. But so often people will try to follow somebody else's plan for their life or try to mimic what they're doing. We used to call it keeping up with the Joneses. Then it was like keeping up with the Kardashians almost. It kind of changed based off of like who you're trying to keep up with. But guys, if you're listening to this, you are a unique person, and your gift to this world is you doing what you can only uniquely do. And then along the way, I hope you run into somebody like Michelle or me who is going to encourage you along the way, and that can actually help break something down in an easy to follow, systematic, financial plan that actually promotes the life you want to live and the uniqueness that you have.
I love what you're saying, and I agree. And I feel like it goes for money, it goes for the career you choose. It just, goes across the board. And I think embracing our uniqueness is a really good thing, because I think sometimes we think our uniqueness is what's keeping us from, if I wish I could be like so-and-so, but, that's a big waste of thought and energy. So much better to go down the road that you're talking about. It really opens the path for you if you can embrace this concept of just being you. I want you to, if you would, because you've been an athlete and you've had a lot of experiences where belief comes into play, and because I really want people to understand their relationship with money first and foremost, I'd love for you to just speak a little bit to how belief, comes into this and how you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah, in the game that we play with money, which you got to remember, guys, we're all in this competitive arena every day, right? Where we're either competing to get a project done at work, we're competing to win new business, depending on what line of work you're in. You're competing to get your kid or grandkid to eat broccoli at dinner time, right? And there's this anytime you're in a relationship with somebody, there's some competition. You just got to define what the competition is. Mm-hmm. Most time people don't realize that the competition is with you individually, and it's with either your limiting beliefs, it's with something you're running from in the past. It's from somebody who has told you can't do, or it is the fear of the unknown. That's really what we're competing against out there. And it's no different like, when I was coaching or playing baseball, because that's where all my athletic that's where all my athletic background comes from, is the game of baseball. Is baseball has a set of rules, and then they have a set of unwritten rules that, from a gentleman's standpoint, you don't break those rules. But what's interesting about unwritten rules, Michelle, is that they're unwritten. They're assumed, they're presumptions that you're not going to play the game that way. Unfortunately, guys, there's a lot of unwritten rules when it comes to money, right? They just don't make sense, right? And what they have is unwritten rules have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. They've been spread around the water cooler at work, or they have been just somebody's poor experience with a solution has created an unwritten rule that is just not true. And one of the things is there are basic rules of money, right? Spend less than you make, That's a hard and fast rule, right?
It's a hard one to do as well. Yeah.
Right. It's hard to do, but that is a rule, right?
Yeah,
Spend less than you make if you want to be financially prosperous. You know what? One of the second rules out there is when you're in a relationship, talk about money, right? That's not an unwritten rule. That should be front and center, right? Don't hide money, because when you hide money, that's what ends up chipping away at the foundation of a relationship, and ultimately, that's where relationships fail, is when you don't talk through money, right? But there's a lot of unwritten rules out there in money, like, unwritten rule like index universal life is a pathway to tax-free retirement. Well, that's an unwritten rule. It's not a hard and fast rule. For some people, it is true. In the media right now, this Bush saga that's going on right now, the NASCAR driver who lost a lot of money from that, is not true, right? There's other places like where I need to have all my money in the stock market. Other people say I don't need to have all my money in the stock market. But if you listen to somebody that said I need all my money in the stock market, well, that's an unwritten rule that you apply to your life. See, you're unique, and in this game that we live called life, you have to really break free of what the hard and fast rules are for you, and then you have to chip away at the unwritten rules that are designed, like banks design these unwritten rules all the time, right? Where you need to put your money with us. We're safe. We're secure, right? We're not going to lose your money. Well, that's an unwritten rule, right? I mean, ask the people at Silicon Valley Bank in 2022 when it failed, right? People who had over the balance limits, what did they lose? Well, so it's an unwritten rule that banks can't lose money. Put your money with me as an advisor because of X, Y, and Z. Well, X, Y, and Z is unwritten rules, right? Unless you can actually verify them. So guys, like in this game, define what the real rules are and define what the unwritten rules are, and then find somebody who's willing to inspire you to really live a one-of-a-kind life, and then will educate you about your money along the way.
Yeah, thank you. Great answer. And I love the way people, I ask this question about beliefs a lot, and I always get different answers with different, examples. And I love that, because I think there are people out there who really don't understand that concept and, just haven't given it thought before is why. But so I love your explanation of that. And, beliefs come into play everywhere, but for some reason, I think sometimes with finance and money, we think that's it shouldn't matter. We just follow we follow the right path, and we do the right things, and we follow those written rules, and we'll be there. But then when it doesn't happen, we don't understand it, and that's kind of what happened to me. And then I had to realize that there's a whole underlying belief system and emotional aspect to this that drives our decisions. So, very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, in general, right? If you just follow like big banks, big insurance companies, big investment firms, you got to remember what their pure intent is. Their intent is to profit, right? They're for profit for their shareholders, profit for board of directors, profit for big business. And not to say that all of them do things wrong, because I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm just saying that their intent is not primarily about you.
Right.
It's about amassing as many U's as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Right. And then adding the profit of those U's together to create like earnings per share, to create growth of their stock. And right now, as we said in 2025, many of those big companies are generating record profits because people are blindly following them and following the path that was, may have worked 20 years ago or 40 years ago, but it may not work going forward. And what we like, the whole thing about money and you is your value, your accounts, everything you've accumulated in life has real value to you, right? If you only should work with somebody who also brings value on top of your money.
Yeah.
Right? Not where your account is the only value in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And you actually got me going down a little rabbit hole in my mind. There are so many things that we do follow that actually we don't stop and analyze. Even as you were talking, I was thinking of Amazon and the idea. I don't particularly like using it very much. I do when I have to, but this idea that I have to have a screwdriver delivered to my house in like 4 hours versus going to the hardware store and getting one is bizarre, in my opinion. But that's where we've gotten to because they've kind of convinced us it's better this way. And it's one of these things where it just reminds me how easy it is to be persuaded towards something that we don't really need to be thinking about.
Well, our mind is a dangerous place because it will our mind is meant to keep us alive.
Yeah.
And it will literally tell you that something that convenient is better for me because you exert less energy.
Yeah.
And so your mind, you have to play mind games with your mind is playing minds with you all day. You have to play mind games back with your mind, right? And realize that, okay, there are some things that Amazon getting delivered to your house is just going to be great for, right? Like if you need to buy 150 pounds of dog food, right? That it's going to be hard to transport from the store to your car, from the car to your house. Yeah, get that delivered. Let Amazon do the heavy lifting for you.
Right.
But man, if you got a hardware store a quarter of a mile from your house that is locally owned, right? Go down and bless those folks, right? You'd rather. I mean, and there's a lot of those small businesses in our communities who have had to resort to like sending their product through Amazon to be able to make, to keep the lights on and employ people. But you're right. I mean, like if we could start thinking about financial decisions and like, how does it impact, what is the real impact that we have? I wrote a book called The One of a Kind Financial Plan. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, wherever you buy books. It's The One of a Kind Financial Plan. Pretty easy to find. Mike Milligan. But in that book, we talk about building a vision for your life and not doing it in a piecemeal effect. We actually talk about dealing with the big things like taxes, which are the biggest expense you'll ever pay in your life, and having a plan for those. Retirement income to ease fear and anxiety, an investment plan that actually works for you, long-term care and legacy that, where you're taking care of the end of your life. And legacy is like more than it. You got to have a will and trust. It's the basics, but it's about that ultimate I love you letter. But if you build these rules, right, or a plan, a written down plan in your life, it starts defining who you are. And like that rabbit hole you went down about the convenience of Amazon, writing a financial plan down is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not, but like it's necessary. And so there's a difference between what's easy and what's necessary. And some things that are necessary is like the building of a vision for your life, building an objective for why you're living. And with money, if you don't have it written down, it's easy to see money wasted by just throwing it to the wrong things or the wrong strategies. And then when you get to a point where you can't work 50 hours a week or 40 hours a week, now you can't physically work there. You still have to continue that because of the culmination of bad decisions along the way.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because those bad decisions along the way also kind of eat away at our, sense of identity, and we don't trust our own decision making. So then we go back into paralysis. We're afraid to make any decisions because we've made bad ones.
Oh, right, and that's and like I call that déjà vu. I mean, because we had these déjà vu moments in our life where we're like, oh, we've been here before, and all of a sudden the hair starts standing up on your arms.
Yeah.
But like, there's money déjà vu moments that happen all the time. If you subconsciously think about it, right? I have spent in this place before and have regretted it.
Yeah.
And here I am doing it again, right? We talk about in the One of a Kind Financial Plan retirement déjà vu. That's somewhat of an experience I go through a lot.
Okay.
But it's also an experience that others see, right? Is they're like me, like my retirement déjà vu is I'll have a meeting with somebody at 9 and 10:30 and noon and 2 and 3:30, right? Where somebody's coming in the first time and they'll tell me about their experience with money or their experience with their financial advisor, and it seems like it's deja vu for me.
Yeah.
It's people who are saying, I have this much allocated in stocks, this much allocated in bonds. I don't have a plan for taxes. I don't have a plan for retirement income. And I was told to buy this insurance thing. And it's just like deja vu, because that's what the big institutions want. They want you to have this piecemeal effect, where this piecemeal effect leads to you depending on them, coming back to them for more, right? And it was all created, Michelle, like when Ray Kroc automated the Big Mac, when Henry Ford automated the car, right? The financial industry just realized that a little bit later, but like all the financial industry is given is 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. That's all they're given, right? It's the same thing. Whoever walks in the door, there's nothing wrong with a Big Mac. You just shouldn't have one every day, and you definitely shouldn't have the same plan that your neighbor has, or the neighbor beside that neighbor, the people sitting at the desk next to you. You need to have something custom that's uniquely yours, where you understand it, where you get educated, where you can ask the right questions and know what's important most for you and your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And that is an interesting analogy there. We have kind of automated things and the way other things have been automated. So I'd love for you to give us kind of an example maybe of, something that has been more customized that you won't get just walking into, basically any traditional.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Right. I just, I could sit here and I could talk for hours about these, because this is what we do every day, full time, sometimes going into overtime with our clients to do these. But I could think of, for instance, Mark, who I met with just last week. He's a soon to be dad of high school graduates.
Okay.
He's a divorcee.
Okay.
But Mark has been very successful. He's saved quite a lot of money for retirement, but now he's in his mid-50s and he's ready to do something else. He's ready to spend more time surfing than he is working.
Love it.
And when he has for years accumulated wealth in a system where it's forced him to now start doing it on his own, because he's realized that, like, financial advisors are trying to charge a percentage of his assets in fees, but giving him no real answer about how to address a potential early retirement, how to address what to do with the sale of a home, how to address with, a move to the West Coast and possibly Central and South America. Mm. And, in building a customized plan for him, we talked about how to actually put his money in a place that's going to be tax efficient, where he doesn't break any rules and have penalties along the way for his money that's in retirement accounts. Mm. But, the end goal is going to be that Mark's going to be able to surf 300 days a year. Wow. He's going to spend a lot of time in the ocean, which is what he wants to do in his mid-50s when he can, before his back goes out or he has to have knee replacement surgery or hip, something happens where he can't do this. I could also think about Jude, who is 67. She's never been married before. And she was working, she had accumulated a lot of cash in her savings account. And, when I asked her, why did you do that? She said, I'm a conservative investor. And I asked her again, why are you a conservative investor? And she said, well, because, for a long time, I just didn't know where to put money. Well, why didn't you know where to put your money? And I asked her 3 or 4 more why questions. And she said, because, Mike, when I was 7 years old, I remember coming home from school and my parents putting me right to bed because they didn't have any money to feed me dinner. And you hear those, right? You hear these why? A bank or a companies, they're going to see money and say, let me put you in this portfolio. They're not going to get to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is she still feels like a 7-year-old girl who may not have a meal at night. And when I literally told her, Jude, you're going to be okay. You have over $1 million. right? And I know you want to live another 40, 50 years, right? Because, I mean, we all know that there's somebody alive right now who's going to live into their 120s or 130s. Somebody today that's living. And she said, why not me? I mean, that was her one of a kind approach. She goes, why not me? Well, when I freed her up from that little 7-year-old's burden about having food, she's getting ready to get married, right? Wow. For the first time, wow. Right? She's traveled to Europe several times. She's going to retire in 3 years. That is what going beyond the traditional cookie cutter approach or one size fits all Big Mac assembly line financial planning means to people. And again, folks, I could tell you hundreds of stories, almost thousands of lives that have been impacted by building one of a kind financial plans for your one of a kind life, guys. And if you never speak to me, if you want to build one for yourself, just buy the book, because the book will actually lay out how you build a plan for yourself. And then, I mean, it'll just inspire. I mean, the reviews, I've almost got a 5.0, got an almost 5.0 rating on Amazon. Almost. I had one person who gave me a 4 on there. It's an interesting place to like be when like you have somebody with over 30 years experience saying, hey, read the book because that'll lay it out. And then if you need deeper help, then obviously get deeper help.
Yeah. Well, and I see you have 2 books, actually. One of a Kind Financial Plan, which sounds amazing for everybody. I mean, a big part of this show is to help educate people in a number of different areas. And as we're talking too, I realize we talk about so many topics. You brought up at the beginning, somebody's going to tell you to buy stocks, and somebody is going to tell you, put all your money in whatever. And sometimes my goal here was to bring a wide array of topics to the table so people could actually tap into their own interests and, the things that attract them, and have at least enough knowledge to go further, and deeper into some area, whether it's stocks or real estate or, whatever it is. And, but I realize that can also be overwhelming. It's like, okay, now everything sounds great. This guy's saying the only way to go is, this thing. And so I love the value that you bring in terms of digging a little deeper into what is right for you.
And I think that every home starts with a foundation.
Yeah.
Right. Every relationship starts with a common thread.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody who is successful with finances have like a belief in a continued stream of education that they're always getting, because there's very few people who lock into wealth. I mean, they really follow some system, whether or not it's right or wrong, and then they get educated along the way to the point of, am I doing what's right? When I went on this journey, this creative journey, after I was really in the business for like 20 years at that time, when I started writing my first manuscripts and started appearing as podcast guest and creating a podcast and getting more on media, what I realized is that people are, as much as people are unique, financial plans come down to just a few common things, and the few common things lead you to then diverge off your own path. And so like wealth, most wealth is created in one of 3 areas, Michelle. It's in your company 401k plan. Some people call that a thrift savings plan, right? If you're working with the federal government, or 403b. Second place that people build wealth is they build it in real estate, in their primary home first, and then maybe they go out buy some more properties. And the third place they build wealth is in their small business. Right? Now, all 3 of those have different threads that can go in different ways, right? Some people may have built their wealth in their 401k in a BlackRock fund or a Vanguard fund or American funds or whatever, right? But they all kind of move and operate the same way. Real estate, right? A home in California is going to be different than a home in Alabama, in North Carolina, or Maine. They're just different price points, right? And then like your business, right? Some small businesses explode into 9-figure, 10-figure juggernauts that get sold. Some provide a daily living, right? And then for another generation, they do the same thing. And then maybe for another generation, they do the same thing. But like in the grand scheme of things, as much as we are unique, we're not so unique that we don't build wealth the same way. Unfortunate today, where social media is prevalent and it's ever present. People get caught in these get rich quick schemes, right? Buy this coin, right? Go and buy this gold because everything's, going downhill, get involved in this elaborate LLC pyramid thing. And it's just, but guys, I'm telling you, right? As much as things change, things stay the same. And primary wealth is created for most people, right? By consistently saving in a plan, buying real estate early and often. And if you're so inclined and you're built to run a small business, invest in the problems. All a small business is problems that people have. It could be individual communities. It could be a global scale, right? But Amazon's problem that they saw was that books could only be got. You could only get a book at a bookstore. And this internet thing was coming out. Amazon just wanted to be the biggest bookseller on the internet. That's all that was a problem. He solved it. Well, realized his technology was good enough to solve a lot of retail problems. But like if you're going to invest in a business, like that third leg of creating wealth, just find a problem. And if you can solve it, if you've got a unique ability to either inspire others to come together and solve the problem, those are called employees. Unique ability to bring a team together to solve problems, and you have the solution that people want to buy, build a lot of wealth for yourself, right? And a lot of wealth is not, it doesn't mean $100 billion, right? Because those people are few and far between.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who've built really nice businesses in towns all across America just by solving problems.
Oh, I love that. I love that whole discussion because, for one thing, you've narrowed it down to really 3 areas of focus, which sort of eliminates the problem I was speaking of before. And for all of that, like you said earlier, and like I strongly believe, you do need to build a foundation, both of within your mindset and within some practical things that you do, like figuring out how to live within your means and get rid of your debt and all the sort of basics that will get you to this point where you have money to invest in any of those things. But there is this foundational piece that is, kind of practical and boring sounding. It never sounds as fun to pay off your debt or do an emergency savings as it does to go on TikTok and start one of these digital marketing companies that are, they're promising so much money all the time. It even sucks me in once in a while. It's like, what are they talking about? But I love what you're saying because it really comes down to those 3 things.
That's right. Well, people do make money in the digital marketing space.
They do. Yeah.
Right. But it's just like anywhere. Right. Yeah. It's a few select percentage of people.
Right.
Right. And so like if it's not your gifting, if you're not going to spend time at it, if you're not going to work wholeheartedly in it, you're going to have divided attention. You're probably not going to make money in that space.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like anything. If you're not going to make money, and the person who got you into the program is probably making money off the money that you put into it. So
yeah, it is interesting. And that's the other point is people do make money at things. And then when they do, they feel like I need to tell the whole world how to do it, just like I did. But, you're not them. And for a lot of these methods, it's not necessarily going to work for you just because it worked for them.
That's exactly right.
Well, I love the idea of your book. I really feel like that sounds like an important book for people trying to educate themselves, along the way here. And then, how do you feel as a financial planner that the financial, working with someone, somewhere along the way, money conversations came up, I think, where you were talking about relationships. And I'm also a big believer, we don't talk about money enough, especially women. I do think guys spend a little more time talking about money. They're walking around the golf course or whatever, and they're literally talking about money and their investments. Women do not. It's very rare, I think, that sort of thing is happening.
Yeah, we just in general don't talk about things that we don't know about. And so, we could also say that we don't have a lot of conversations about the Pythagorean theorem. right? And we don't, and we don't have a lot of conversations around like the interpersonal relationships of the love dynamic that happens, between dolphins. Like we don't talk about those things because we don't understand them well. The one reason we don't talk about money a lot is because we think it's taboo.
Yes.
Right. We, you always hear, don't talk about religion, politics, and money. Unfortunately, because those things can divide. They divide. I mean, if you think about like a religious conversation about what happened in the past, can divide you. It can separate you from a relationship that you want to build. Politics 100% could do that, especially these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, but money is one of those things that when you have to find your community that is either struggling with the same things you are, which are people that are trying to get to the same place you're trying to get to, and even like find a money mentor, like somebody who is maybe walked the path that you have before, or you think they've walked the path before, and somebody that you can ask questions to, who you could simply say, tell me about some of your greatest success with money. Tell me about some of your greatest failures with money. How did you pick the relationship that you have with the people that you have? And, and when you do that, when you open up an engaging conversation about success and failure, you're going to get some people who will just not shut up. And you're going to get other people who will give you very blanketed answers. But one of the things that I know is that if you don't talk about money, you're not going to engage or move ahead with your own money journey. I was literally just on a podcast recently where somebody said that like money is this was a therapist, a marriage and family therapist, who said that financial advisors don't realize the power that they really have, because literally financial advisors are there to talk about the thing that people don't talk about much at all. And what financial advisors really try to do is they try to pass forward their recommendations without just having the conversation. And then if financial advisors would really do the job that they're called to do, which is have conversations, their calendars would be full of people, right? They would never lack for new people, new opportunities to have conversations with. And the financial advisor at that point should choose who they work with based off the personalities they like, and then push the people that the personalities are not onto somebody whose their personality fits better into. Because here's the thing about money, right? Like I'm a financial planner, I'm a financial advisor. And yes, my calendar's full, but you know why? It's because I just talk to people.
Yeah.
90% of the people I talk to about money will never become a client of One Oak Financial. And the numbers are growing every day. It's pretty soon it's going to be more like 95 or 97%, because we're engaging in a dialogue that needs to be had. We're engaging in the dialogue about taxes and retirement income, investments, long-term care, and legacy, the one-of-a-kind financial plan, building the vision for your retirement. We call that retirement chi, right? We're trying to get people to snap out of retirement déjà vu, get past the paralysis penalty, look at the sea of sameness, right? And say, do you want to be like every fish in the pond, or do you want to find your way into bigger ponds and be unique, right? Does everybody want to be Nemo, or do they just want to be the striped bass down the corner? I mean, who do you want to be, guys? And like when we have more conversations like that, when we get more mentor groups set up, when we get more people in community talking about money, how to grow businesses, small business owners, how to grow business, people that are in their 30s and 40s, how do we navigate this time of, expensive daycare and private school versus public school? How do we navigate these big financial decisions? We get people in conversation like that. We're no longer going to have a money problem. We're no longer going to have a debt problem.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, Michelle, who doesn't want you to have those conversations, right? Big banks, big insurance companies, because they want you to be the source there. By the way, who doesn't want you to talk about religion? Churches. They want you to come to church and talk about it there, right? Who doesn't want you to talk about politics? Politicians. Because, then no change will really happen. So if you really want to be unique and be one of a kind, have the conversations politely, right? And find the people that you connect with and then grow with that group, right? Bring your own uniqueness, your own one of a kindness to it. And then you can truly live the life that's fully yours.
Oh, thank you. That was so good. And you're so right. And that's why, oftentimes too, I join groups that have more like-minded people. Maybe it's an entrepreneurs group or something where people are kind of thinking differently. And oftentimes people get a lot of pushback from their families, from, all kinds of other folks about, what are you doing? I have a client right now who, what she's doing is really different. I think it's fantastic. But, everybody, like you said, your brain is trying to protect you. So everybody's worried about, you going kind of off the rails. But I think, where you can find these people, it's really, really beneficial to be, not alone in this. So, well, Mike, I really love your insights. I hope people will buy your book. I think that sounds like a fabulous read for anybody at any stage. And tell us how else we can contact you, find you.
Well, if you go to MikeMilligan.com, just MikeMilligan.com, you're going to find out more about me. I have 3 primary purposes in life: to educate, coach, and plan. That's all I do. I teach a personal financial planning course at a university, Old Dominion University. It's a non-credit course for people just looking to educate themselves. You can find out more details about that on the website. I coach other advisors in a very closed group, right? And I'm teaching them to be able to have money conversations. That whole thing I was telling you in this episode about financial advisors holding the key.
Yeah.
So, because people want to talk about money, that's what I train on, other financial advisors. So if you talk to somebody, maybe they've been trained by me in the past. And then, our firm is called One Oak Financial, where One Oak stands for one of a kind. So One of a Kind Financial is there to build one of a kind financial plans for your one of a kind life. It's what we live. We have 21 professionals on our team that are there, ready and able to have the conversations about money. And when we have those conversations, we'll send you off on a better path, whether or not that path includes us going forward, because the bigger we are, the bigger our presence gets, the less people we have the ability to help, and we know our capacity, but we'll push people down a path where, by having a conversation with us, they'll know that they can improve taxes, retirement income, investments, long-term care, and their legacy along the way.
Wow. Thank you. That sounds wonderful and much needed. And we didn't even touch on, the whole tax strategy aspect of it. So I'm glad you at least mentioned it, because it is so much more important than people realize. And so the fact that you bring that into the conversation, intentionally like that is extra. So, well, thank you so very much for being here. I feel like it was a real privilege to have you on. You're a wealth of knowledge and clearly heartfelt in all of this and what you're trying to give to people. So
thanks, Michelle. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I really appreciate it as well. So thank you. And thank you, audience, for listening to the Money and You Show. We're so glad you do. And you can find us on all the podcast platforms. You can find us on the YouTube Limit Free Life YouTube channel. And reach out to me, Michelle, at limitfreelife.com, and check out a few of the variety of things that we have there. And we will see you next week.